And I think we should start with one of the shows that, well, we're going to do all of the shows from yesterday, but one of the shows I want to talk about, of course, is Poland. And we saw the conclusion of Poland's selection show. Do you know how to pronounce that, Gabe? My Polish is non-existent.
It was called...
Tu bie serce Europy.
Okay, 1 second. It was to be a... I'm going to sound very Russian when I say this, probably, but tu bie serce Europy, I think. Something like that.
What he said.
Definitely serce or something like that. That's the only bit I'm absolutely sure about.
I know all the Polish people in the chat going crazy. Oh, don't say it like that. But we tried. Anyways, but we do have a winner because that's how these national finals go. And as you can see, after 2 rounds of voting, the winner turned out to be Christian Ochman. And Ochman is probably the name that he'll use on the Eurovision stage with the song River. And the show consisted of 12 participants overall. And the first round of points is where they had, basically 3 songs moving on to the super final. And those top 3 were able to perform the songs again. And as pointed out, Christian Ochman was one of them, Unmute, as well as Daria. And then the final 3 were called up on the stage to talk about it. The final results were announced, and then Christian Ochman took the win with 51% votes ahead of Daria, who got 39% of the televote and 10% of the votes. Interestingly enough, though, he did not win, apparently, the jury vote, which actually was given to Daria. So that is just really quickly, in a nutshell, what happened yesterday. And now I think we should all jump into the weeds here, share our thoughts and what Poland is looking forward to, according to our observation, come May. Handing it over to you, Gabe. What was your first impression of the show, the singer? Just take it away. Oh, gosh, I sound like Jan
tell you, I've got a theory. I've got a Eurovision theory that I'm going to share with you. It's called the Eurovision Moby Dick rule. Now, there is an old saying that if you give an infinite amount of monkeys, an infinite number of typewriters, and an infinite amount of time, eventually one of them will write the completed works of Shakespeare. The same is true for countries that suck at Eurovision and then randomly find an unbelievable song that could very well carry away the whole contest. Wow. If all goes well. I love this. Yeah, it's like Portugal in 2017, randomly, suddenly being brilliant. It was just out of the blue. It blew me away when I first heard it. I had noticed Poland being higher in the odds than I expected, but I assumed it was just like with the randomness of the odds early on. I assumed there was no basis behind it. This song is so good. I think it's really strong. I've really enjoyed listening to it. It makes a big impression. The guy is a brilliant singer. The one thing I would say, they basically didn't bother staging it, in my opinion, in a way that really extended it to its full power. Please make the staging at the contest as dramatic and as impactful as the song is. And then we could see a proper contender here. I am so excited for Poland. Finally, after all these years of being great at Junior Eurovision and then just sort of shrugging your shoulders did my lights just flicker? Shrugging their shoulders in the senior contest. Finally, we have what we deserve and what the country deserves. So, yeah, I am delighted. And the right song won, and it was fantastic. Brilliant. 10 out of 10. Great job, Poland.
Yeah. So technically I did 2 reaction videos. Now, first to all the songs that were in the running in the Polish national final, which I am unable to pronounce. And then, of course, last night I reacted to the live performance because high expectations. Immediately, just listening to all the songs in the running in Poland, I knew that River was the one. You just know when you hear. Actually, I will say the whole Polish national final, according to my observation, was really good. There were a lot of songs, even songs that I really liked. I knew they weren't right for Eurovision. There were so many songs that I was really appreciative, and it feels as Poland is slowly catching up to their Junior Eurovision success. right? So maybe they're slowly learning, and or quickly in this case, actually. So I am equally thrilled with what I saw in the voting. I'm of course always nervous because it's wonderful to have national finals, to listen to all the songs, and it's also frustrating to have national finals because then you get always disappointed by the outcome because your favorites more often than not end up losing or not winning, I should say. So you have a problem with the internal selection. The Netherlands doesn't have to worry about that, like what could have been kind of situation. So with the national finals, you always have that. So that's always the bitter part. But I do think that absolutely Poland made the right choice, and you brought up a good point, which I also shared in my original reaction, is that first of all, the staging needs to change completely. And we do know that Ochman already said that he will. Somebody in the chat, and forgive me, I forgot who it was. But they did say that the Polish broadcaster never put any effort or money into the whole staging in national finals. So we know that it's going to change. And when you look at some of the previous things that we've seen Poland national finals, it looks very different once they are on stage. So I'm less worried about the staging coming together. My concern was also the singer Ochman, even though vocally he was flawless, right? His voice is just ridiculous. I was like, oh my God, if he looks that pale and that disengaged, it is concerning to me. But we also, apparently he was very sick. He had to cancel concerts and performances prior to this because he's been really sick, which then explains why he was kind of disconnected to the performance. So I feel I said actually on Twitter, oh, I'm so glad that he was sick. I'm like, that came out wrong. Of course, I'm not glad that he is sick, but I am at least it's good to know that this is just a matter of feeling better and fixing what's out there. Because everything that I saw that I was concerned about, or most of it, I should say, can easily be fixed. The staging, his energy, and all of that, because it is going to look great. Are there any other things that you think they should focus on from now till May, besides, getting Ochman back to health and the staging?
Well, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, mostly, they'll take the time to reflect on it. Obviously, he was unwell. He gave a great performance in difficult circumstances, and he sort of made it through. Now he's got time to sort of, iron out all those other bits. I mean, I'm very conscious of the fact that the time people have to prepare for their Eurovision performance is much greater than the time they have to perform for prepare for a national final. And obviously they're going to be putting in more effort with more backing and a bigger team of people around them as well. We're more than 75 days away from the contest still, so he's got time. I did want to shout out a couple of the other songs in the national final that stuck out to me. I really enjoyed Chista Voda, which was the sort of folk song. I thought it had a really nice sound, and it was sort of like, and I looked at that and I thought, I was thinking of that ridiculous song that Moldova has sent. And I thought, okay, this is how you do folk in Eurovision. This is so much better. So I was massive fan of that. And I'm a sucker for a Bond theme. So Dokad caught my attention for that reason, just on the basis that it sounded like a Bond theme. Yeah.
It was interesting because the top three were very interesting to me as well. Daria was my second favorite. Yes, it was, you can say, a little bit more a standard pop song, but I thought it was well executed. People were concerned that she's not the greatest live singer, but I thought she nailed it. She did really well, and I know she won the jury vote, which was a big surprise. Unmute was a very interesting choice. In case those who did not watch the Polish national final, it was basically a group consisting of deaf individuals. So there were zero like spoken words. It was all just sign language, and they still made it to the top three. Was that a surprise to you, Gabe, or that was you thought that this has like a niche?
It's okay. This is a bit of a curiosity for me because I mean it's actually an interesting question about whether sign language would be considered vocals in the actual contest, because that would render the song ineligible. I presume that they got some kind of confirmation of that beforehand.
Not
whether it was
necessarily, I
eligible or
don't
not.
think, because they could just say, and I know I'm going back a little bit in time, over 25 years now. In 1995, it's Nocturne in Norway. It was initially completely instrumental as well, and they were forced by the EBU to add like a little bit of vocals at the beginning and the end, so they just did the bare minimum. So it's possible they would do something similar here. Granted, it hasn't been tested in so long. I don't think that the Polish broadcaster has gone for that, because I don't think they thought it was going to win. It was a nice little, like, almost like awareness song, I think, more than anything. The rules are still the same. Nothing has changed. Some people said that some wording has changed because it says language now, and people were saying, well, sign language is a language, but then later on it says vocals as well. So I'm pretty sure if they would have won, they would have had to add actually some sort of language. But
I'm sure they would have found a way.
Yes, they would have found a way. Yes.
But yeah, like I don't have any. I thought it was an interesting idea. I think it would have faced a lot of challenges in Eurovision. Like you know, in the national final, you're putting something across to an audience in one language, and there's two things at play here. Firstly, deaf deaf people in Poland will have understood the signs. Secondly, you know, Polish people who don't understand sign language will have understood the subtitles. Every country has a different sign language, and you can't. And if they put the subtitles in English, a large amount of the continent won't understand the lyrical content. And if it's on screen as like text, that makes the content of the lyrics far more important because you're consciously drawing people towards that. So I think it would have faced some logistical challenges in Eurovision. I'm glad it participated in its national final. I think it's also for the best that it didn't win it.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good summary of the song. So I agree with that. I also agree with you, and I think her name was Carolina, the Polish folky song that was out there. I love that to bits. I talked about it on social media as well, on Twitter. How I know this would not have been the right choice for Eurovision, but I'm glad that they added it and that there was a lot of love and support from it. I love that kind of stuff. I would have liked it to see it Eurovision, but I understand for Poland's sake of bringing home a better result. I think it wouldn't have been the right choice, but I want to give a shout out to that song because it was just so beautiful. A lot of talk was also about the 2009 representative Lydia, who essentially represented Poland in 2009. She had a song in the running, and that unfortunately did not work out quite as well. It was called Why Does It Hurt? And apparently it hurt a lot of people because she completely sounded off and wrong. It was almost embarrassingly to watch. And afterwards, I went on Facebook and I saw the songwriters go off on her in really big ways. Like she completely just decided to change the song to her liking. And they were like, this is not the song we wrote for her. So apparently there was a little bit of a fallout as well. So that was really awkward as well. I just noticed that. There's always, I guess you always have to have some drama somewhere. But I think overall, the Polish show went well. You didn't see it live, I don't think, Gabe, but one thing I also want to show, like, it was very confusing for us non-Polish folks because we jumped back and forth between shows. And Poland did this thing. They had like 3 songs and they had an interval act. And then they had like something this. And we always thought, is that part of the show now? So you got lost in track. Like, am I listening to an entry or is it just some random performer? So that was very, very difficult to keep track of. But I enjoyed the show very much. I think Poland is on the right track. And anybody has questions in regards to Poland in the chat, now is your chance to do so. And do it by @ESC United. So we know what your questions are. Gabe, I know it's early. It's early days, as they say on Love Island, but the I don't watch it, but they made fun of it on SNL once, so I'm always getting stuck on that.
Great show, amazing show.
I watched it I watched a couple of seasons like on the side, and I'm just like, it's to fall asleep to. I'm like, it drives me nuts. But anyways, the point is, right now, if you had to predict, like, do you think Poland could break, number one, the jury curse with this song, and 2, could potentially not just qualify, get another left side of the scoreboard result?
So I think yes, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think it's a strong song, and he's vocally brilliant. We know that juries really like that. The second thing is that we see this happen in countries where they have a high chance of winning in any given year. The more people watch the show, people get excited. It starts getting talked about on Twitter, in news articles. If it gets around the Polish diaspora across Europe that Poland's in with a chance of winning, the televotes are going to pour in their droves. So we are going to see some big scores for this song. And it's those factors combined with the fact that it is a genuine, rightful contender that is going to push this right up the order. Right up the order to potentially to the very top.
Jose Hanjeo, or Rangel, but I think one of my friends' name was Hanjeo, so I think that's how you pronounce it. Do you feel the poor lyrical content could harm the song? So here's the thing. I don't perceive it as poor lyrical content. I'm going to ask you as well, Gabe. I think my bigger concern, that's just me getting hung up on it. One of the few flaws that the song has is the way the lyrics are written, in terms of like they're squeezing too many syllables into the melody, like he's trying to put too much lyrical content in that line, which melodically hurts it a little, in my view. That is my biggest issue, but I don't think any of the actual content, the lyrical content, is going to harm the song. How do you feel, Gabe?
I think you've got to bear in mind that most of the juries and most of the public will hear these songs a maximum of 3 or 4 times before they make their decisions in the final. Even 3 or 4 times is a lot for most of the public. And in that amount of listens, people will not have built up the insight about the lyrics, especially if you think about the context that people are watching in. You know, they're talking about it with other people in the room. You know, maybe the TV's on in the background or at a party, which actually I think relegates that to quite low on the list of priorities. I mean, one example of this, if you think of what was the song? It was the Ukrainian song, the one where they had the sand artists. What was the
Ukraine or Moldova?
Angel.
You're talking about
Mika Newton, Angel, some years ago. The lyrics of that song are ridiculous, have awful grammar, and make no sense, but it still did really well. As an example. So I think that's actually not going to be much of an obstacle for this song. I think people will let that slide. Obviously, there's a limit, but this doesn't go past that ridiculousness limit. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Couple of questions from Thomas is asking, do you know that Daria was a jury winner yesterday? I can't believe that Daria won with Ochman according to jury. Yes, I did. Some people are saying in Poland, I cannot confirm the accuracy or the validity of these claims, but they're saying that initially Daria was the broadcaster's favorite and they wanted to send her internally and then was added. So they're saying this was like a thing that they wanted to push her through, but then the televoters overruled them anyway. So I don't know how accurate that is. You know, I don't know the specifics, but that was one of the things that people are saying. But yes, we were aware that Daria actually won the jury vote. And I'm sure a lot of Polish fans were like getting really nervous at that point. And I know that feeling because I know how strongly the Polish folks feel about the song. And I'm so glad I'm on the same page. One more question here. How would you stage River? The staging in the NF obviously needs to be scratched. Gabe, do you have any vision or idea on what they should do? I know we are not choreographers or anything like that, but is there anything that just your vision when you think about it?
I think the music video had a lot of interesting imagery in it. You know, sort of use of black and white and so on. I think that's a good place to go with this. I think that, I mean, you're setting up a very obvious image. You know, the song is called River. So using some sort of, you know, water flowing elements to it.
Didn't they say, actually, didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but people saying that they may have like a water thing on the stage in Italy. Somebody was saying that would be the perfect set, like a waterfall thing. So that would be the perfect setup.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. So if they can do something, I think they really, you know, buy into the imagery of the song. You know, it has to be one whole coherent product that all makes sense together. You know, you want to make the viewers really buy into the picture that you're selling, the sort of sound that you're creating. And you could do that. Like, people will see the name of the song and they'll start thinking about water, and you have to exploit that. That is the
Yes.
number one thing I think that they have to consider going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it should be, when I say minimalistic, not just like, but I think it's about, I don't necessarily think he needs a band on there. I mean, keep it maybe then just subtle in the back, but it should focus on him with the colors and just the feel of the song, because that is the feeling that I wouldn't say abandonment I get from the song, but I get a little bit more of a personal, intimate feel with that song. And I feel as that's how it should be staged. So, but we'll find out in the future. They have plenty of time to talk this through, and we are very happy for the Polish fans, because it's time for them to get excited, not just at junior, but at the adult version as well.